Welcome to Breaking Barriers. You know your path. We know the obstacles, and we can teach you how to tear them down. And now your host, CEO and founder of Adapting Social, John Vigero.
Guys, welcome back to Breaking Barriers. I'm really excited today. We have my guy Brian from Jaydien Network Solutions. Thank you so much, brother, for being here. We have Brian in the building. Let's go. On that note, though, about the trucks. So right now, I've been considering. So we're gonna get an Adapting Social truck for our media team, and I'm like, I've always juggled with is it worth it to get a nice size truck for advertising it, right? Versus just a typical car or whatever else. Do you see that your truck gets you business?
Not really gets me business, but people see the trucks and they say it.
They're like, oh, I saw your truck, or I always see your truck.
Yeah, it's kind of like what you were mentioning in that meeting where it's like that you need that sort of saturation.
It's everywhere.
Yeah. And I get it. I don't think we've gotten any service calls from it. Someone's like, oh, let me write the number down.
Right. Oh my network's down. Right.
But I people recognize the trucks around, I think.
Right.
And I've also had customers of mine who are driving home and they drive past our office, and if it wasn't for the trucks, they wouldn't know we were there because we're in an office park. And they mentioned that to me, I saw your trucks. I didn't realize you were right there. It sort of gives a little credibility to the business in some ways.
You see some trucks on the road. Yeah, it makes sense.
We have a big bucket truck too that just sort of sits out there and
it's advertising.
Sometimes I'll hang a flag off of it or something, but that people see that and maybe it kind of gives a little credibility to what we do.
Yeah.
But
on that note, for people watching too, though, because we did have a good conversation about that, and I think one of the biggest things when you think about market domination, right? The world we live in right now, the people who are doing really well are people that are, they're offline and they're online, right? If you're driving somewhere and you see, a Jaydien truck, okay, boom, I see a Jaydien truck. Then if I'm, at my desk and I'm getting an ad served for Jaydien, and then I'm getting a phone call from a sales rep from Jaydien, it's to take over the market. That's why when you see a Rob Dukansky, right? Your home sold guarantee on billboards, on cars, digitally, it's wow. I don't know if it's still the case, but at one point he was in the peak of it. He was I'm pretty sure the biggest selling agent, at least top 5 in the country because of the campaign and from New Jersey, right? But he just blitzed the market. And it's so interesting how it's how do you progressively get to that point though?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He had investors that were on the lending side that took place because obviously if he was selling a home, boom, they were the lenders. They had an investment.
And how does he deal with his business blowing up? He's a one-man realtor. Does he now have to assemble a team?
He is huge. Obviously now he's been doing this for years.
He's a broker.
But in the beginning, he was from what I heard, he was just building agents on his team. So obviously you called, I saw a billboard, you call, next thing you know, you're talking to one of the secretaries or whatever,
somebody's
and then or a buyer's agent or whatever, and he just built the team around
That's cool.
Yeah.
I've been getting the meta ads.
Yeah.
People on my Instagram sphere, they've been hitting me up. They're seeing these ads.
Right.
They're my sister texted me yesterday. It's kind of funny. I open up my Instagram and I see a video of you. And
let's go. but
that's cool. That's that saturation.
Correct. Because you're in front of your market.
Yeah.
And the one thing though about Dukansky that was interesting is that obviously he put out he wanted to put in theory a test to see if I'm on every billboard from all these places is going to change my business. I'll never forget during COVID. So my wife, she just does real estate for our own investment properties. So if we have something going on, she'll be obviously she'll be the buyer's agent for us and represent us. And I remember one of her friends' grandparents or something were moving, and they were just hey, do you know any agents? And they were oh, I know Jacqueline just does it on the side or whatever. Let me see if she'll help us. So fast forward. She sat down with them because they asked, for somebody. So she sat down and they were we're considering going with Rob Dukansky. And I remember hearing that, and I remember saying to Jack, I'm damn, that's because she doesn't care. Yeah. It's not her, she doesn't do real estate really. So she was okay, whatever, go with Rob Dukansky then. But at the end of the day, it's he was. Could you imagine how many conversations that guy has been in for the past 5-6 years, just because of that blitz? And again, I think last, I don't know, it's gonna be totally off.
It's quite an investment he made.
Oh my gosh! In billboards, could you imagine some of these billboards like are like $3 or $4 grand per billboard?
Yeah.
Right, and he was every month per billboard. So imagine, I mean, he had to have well over 20 to at least 100 billboards, right? When you think about it. So like he was doing radio, he was doing everything. But from what I heard though, again, not like off of like directly from him, so I don't know if this is true or not, but he was doing like, I think like anywhere, maybe like right under 10 million a year in like his gross commission sales.
Wow.
Which is huge. I mean, the guy on Instagram is driving around different Ferraris and like different Porsches and like he's balling.
Yeah.
But it's like, but he did that. And
what came first? The chicken or the egg?
Right.
Which one was he? Did he have a really good couple of years and he's like, I'm going to reinvest in myself with these billboards and everything?
Right.
Or did it come the other way?
I think from what I've heard, again, this is not from him, but from people who know him that I talk to, like he was just a smart dude, right? So like he like had strategic partnerships with like other lenders and investors. Because when you think about the slogan, "Your home sold guaranteed," right?
Yeah, that's
like,
a tough thing to guarantee.
Because like, but apparently in the back end of it was like, let's just say he was selling your house. All right, your home sold guaranteed. Like you're like guaranteed to sell my house. I need to get out of this house. And this was before COVID, right? So it's like it wasn't like homes were just fucking moving. Mm-hmm. But like if your home was at the time selling for $300K, and you couldn't sell it, like he would come in with an offer, like all right, from
one of his
an investor's going to buy for $280 or whatever it could be, right? So it's guaranteed. You're guaranteed getting an offer, right? Who knows if you're definitely to buy or sell it? Yeah. But nonetheless, like that was his move. So it's like I think it's not the chicken or egg situation. Is like he was smart enough to know, okay, I have to have a good offer, and then I have to have somebody to back it up. So he put the right team in place. So he had these, because he wasn't just paying out of his own pocket for these fucking billboards. He had these investors and these lenders go in it with him because everybody's making money.
Yeah. That's probably what
you know
it
what I mean.
Yeah.
And that's why, like, even for you, like, we should also really think about that, right? Like, is there any sort of synergistic situations for yourself where it's like, whether it's like one of the network providers or one of the companies you use as a vendor that you get, your equipment from and stuff, like that you could leverage that, right? Like, because that's what he did essentially. He's like, I use a vendor. Every real estate agent or broker, you got lending companies humping your leg and title companies, right? And so it's like, okay, how can I leverage those relationships and then make it work for me? You know what I mean? Like, is there anybody in your world that you could think of like that? Because that'd be interesting.
To help me grab clientele or help
co-op dollars.
Yeah,
because that's what when you really think about it, he had co-op dollars.
Yeah.
From his lenders and whoever else maybe. But in your world, I think we should think about that. There's a lot of businesses out there who don't take advantage of that, and like I've done that in the past, right? So like for instance, like we use like MailChimp for email marketing. They're a great partner. They're awesome. We'll leverage them for shit like that all the time. Like, hey, we're gonna run some ads. We're gonna do whatever else. Like, you want to come in on it with us because they know if we're gonna be doing emails, like we're always gonna refer. Like, hey, we should do MailChimp.
Yeah, there's a couple of products that run our business that are big in the MSP world. Yeah, monitoring. It's called RMM, remote monitoring and management. There's a couple of big players, and we use them for documentation, for monitoring, for remote access, ticketing. Right. Maybe that's something we could, work do co-oping with them.
Let's definitely. I want to take a mental note of that to reconnect after this on that because I think that's really going to be beneficial. Yeah. Because when you think about it, like if that company, if you grow your business,
they grow.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a couple.
It's worth some conversations to say, hey, like I'm taking an aggressive position in my market. Yeah. If I grow, you grow. Like, let's talk about that. You know what I mean? Yeah. So like that's what I did with like some of the clients that like or some of the vendors better yet that I use, whether it's a merchant processor or just a MailChimp.
So
software.
You started out as just a web guy.
Yeah. So I was in 08.
Like a one man
band. Yeah. In 08, my dad was we were going to lose our house during the 08 market crash. And so my dad, I'm the oldest of 5 kids. My dad came to me and was just like, hey, like we're going through some tough times. most likely going to lose the house, whatever. And I was like, what can I do? Like, and, I was 17 at the time, and he was like, pretty much nothing. Right. Like, so I was started Googling shit. Like, what can I do without a college degree? I was in high school, and I found a bunch of different things. One was an air traffic controller, but I was too young. But it said high stress job. And then I saw a website freelancer, and I was like, oh, interesting. And it's like, you could like work from home, and you don't need an office. You can go to your clients and stuff. So I taught myself back then Python, which is unnecessary because I never really used it. Then I started building websites in WordPress and other things like that. And then I was like, all right, I'm going to go door to door. But the funny thing that most people don't know is when I started the business, I started adapting social, and I had a DBA for Bricktown Deals. And so what I did at that time was I looked at Groupon and Living Social, and I was like, all right, they're fucking all these businesses because they're like, I had the first client, one of the first 2 clients I signed was a limousine company. And he was in the process of like finishing out a month with Living Social at the time, as before Groupon came like on the scene as big. And he got totally screwed, man. So like essentially they made a deal with him where they were like, all right, from wherever in Jersey pretty much to Newark Airport or Atlantic City Airport, it's $100, right, for first-time customers, right? Mm-hmm. And so, again, the promise of Groupon and Living Social at the time was, we're going to give you new business, new clients who don't know who you are, and then they're going to keep using you. You'll build loyalty because they just need that first try with you, right? So give them a good deal, and they'll come back. So we did it for 2 or 3 months, and he was just losing money left and right. But between paying his drivers, gas, whatever else, he wasn't making any money. He was losing money. So at the last month that he had in a contract with them, like he was about to go out of business. And it made me say, because I was doing his website, and I was like, dude, like there's got to be a better way. Like why don't I just charge a flat fee, right, to be on this platform? And I don't want to take any money in your pocket. Because the problem that the Groupon did at the time was they would say $100, right? But the whole thing was they take 50%.
Yeah.
So it wasn't like he was making $100. He was making $50.
All your margin disappeared.
Boom. And so I started to do Bricktown Deals. I went door to door. I had pizzerias. I had a bunch of restaurants. I had limo companies and things like that. And it helped me get into these businesses because instead of me being like, let me build you a website at a time, because back in 2008, people were like, I don't need a website. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? There was no Facebook for business. Facebook was still new. Yeah. And anyway, so that's kind of how it started. I was just doing their websites. I got them on Bricktown Deals. And then when I was 17, I started doing it. By the time I was 18, I got my parents completely out of that status of foreclosure. And so I was like, all right, this is cool. Like I graduated high school, and then I just kept going. And then it parlayed into like a bunch of my clients just like at the time being like, hey, I'm paying this guy to do my SEO. And I was like, all right, well, I built the website for you. Like I can look into how to do SEO, but I'm be transparent. I don't know what the fuck SEO is. Like I know the basics of it, but I can't be like your expert because I don't know it. So they were just like, I'm paying this guy, whatever, a couple $100. If you do it for less, I'll just give it to you. And like, you're being honest, so you're going to learn, but I'm willing to do that if you're going to do it cheaper. So I just kept doing things like that. And the next thing you know, we just kept evolving. It was just like, how can I help? How can I help? How can I help? And I think the one thing that, like, for people that are listening that are younger, really need to fucking digest is, dude, at that time, back in 2008, I did everything for practically nothing. Like, because I was just so happy to, like, work with people.
I sort of did the same thing when I started out. You kind of just want the business so bad.
100%. You just, like...
Here's my cell phone. Here's my mom's number in case I'm there.
Right. Anything you... But now, how did you start?
It was kind of by accident because I went to college for IT and I got an internship, and that was my first IT job, but it was during the tech boom.
Okay.
So it was maybe like 2000.
Oh my gosh. It's like that's that explosion.
Yeah. And it was an internet company in Princeton. It was like, it was, everyone was becoming millionaires at this company. They just went public, stock options. And so but I was in the IT department. I wasn't like in operations.
Got it.
Everyone in operations and sales was like,
killing it.
Just getting rich off the stock.
Yeah.
And so I thought, I'm going to get rich. I'm in IT, but I got some stock options when I got a job, and I'm going to make money like them. And 9/11, 9/11 happened.
Right.
The market crashes. And I got laid off. And so, and nothing ever really was the same after that.
Right.
So that was my, like,
That's what pushed you to start your own company?
sort of, I really was like, it was the first time at this company I saw like computer networks and like a data center.
Right.
You know, all this stuff. I was like, I can't believe this works. Like,
Right.
this, so I want to know everything about it. When I got laid off, I had about a year in the business, and I just started to work. I got a job at a consulting company, basically doing what I do now. It was like,
Right.
it was like essentially a competitor to me now. And but it was so different. It was the culture. Like, I went from this beautiful office in Princeton where you could go in the kitchen and sign out the ski cabin, and like there was so much money.
Wow.
Every Friday,
Right.
in the conference room is food and beer.
Wow.
And it went from that to being at this like industrial park in Robbinsville, basically in a desk in a warehouse. And
From luxury to like, what the hell?
And I'm like, this sucks.
Right. Is
Like-
that company still around?
Yeah.
That was back then?
New Jersey Business Systems.
Wow.
I don't want to
Yeah.
disparage them. They are an MSP basically.
Got it.
And I was working for that, and then I was soured at that. I was like, look at what, like, I'm looking around. I'm like, I'm in the warehouse.
Right.
I'm like, a few months ago, I was at this
I was signing out ski cabins.
in Princeton, and then I was soured at that, and then I was like, I saw that they were basically sending me places to fix things. Like, my skill set was making them a killing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I was just like, I can do this. I was like, I'll just consult on I'm the talent here.
Right.
Right. And
Right.
even though I was so green, I was only a couple of years in the business, but
Yeah.
like sort of like you when you were first starting out,
Yeah.
you're so motivated.
Right.
And you are young, dumb, full of cum, as they say. You're
100%.
You're like, I can do this. Like,
Right.
this is me. I'm this company here.
Correct. Got
And
the world by the balls.
yeah. So I'm like, at the time, my wife, we were just dating. I'm like, I'm just gonna quit, and just consult or something. I don't know. I'm like, I can't work here anymore. And
Right.
at the time, I could count all my bills on one hand.
Right.
So
it was easy.
it was easy, and I did that, and so it turned into
so you were already married when you started?
No, it's just nope. I was living at home with my dad.
Okay,
and
gotcha.
I was just dating my wife,
Got it.
and
She was there for the start of everything.
Yeah, she
That's
was.
pretty cool.
She encouraged me to do it.
Good.
Like, I remember just sitting at a bar, just going, I think I'm just going to quit.
Right.
Like, at the time, I wasn't going to go homeless.
Right.
Like I said, I could.
What's the worst that could happen?
I needed
Let's get another job.
money for the bar.
Right.
I had to pay my car insurance.
Right.
Some spending money. That's all I needed.
Right.
And so I did it, and it was like an accident more than anything, because I at the time, I don't really think I thought it was going to work out.
Right.
I was like, I got to get out of this job I'm in. I hate these people here. They don't respect me. I don't respect them.
Right.
And I'm like, I'll quit. I'll collect unemployment. If it doesn't work out, I'll just get a job.
Right.
But it worked out.
Right.
And I remember, like, at one point, their customers, the consulting job that I quit, those customers were calling me because they had my cell phone. They weren't calling the office to put in service calls, and I was like, well, I don't really work there anymore. I was real nervous. I signed a non-compete.
Yep.
I was very young. I thought that was, you can enforce those like really heavily.
For sure.
I should have not even thought twice about it, but at the time I'm like, I don't want to like get in trouble here. So I was telling them, like, look, I don't work for them anymore. I can't help you out.
Right.
But my phone just kept ringing.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, all right.
I guess this is a real business.
I was like, all right. Like, they're like, I'm calling them. They're not calling me back. So
Right.
can you help me?
Right.
And there's a few of those clients I still have to this day.
That's awesome. Let's go.
They never, one of them told me, like, years later, they're like, after you left there and started to just work for us, they never reached out to us ever again. Can you believe that?
Such bad business. Well, because to your point, right? Like, you were the talent. They were exploding, the business, obviously. And part of that growth pain is that shit happening.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like you're not following up with fucking business that was like, it's like.
Pretty nice size account. I mean, maybe in the grand scheme of things, it wasn't worth, because I think they focus more on municipalities now. So maybe it wasn't really what they wanted in the end, but it's always seemed kind of weird to me, like to leave money on the table like that.
Totally, right? Like what the heck?
Yeah. And then it became like, it got to the point maybe like a year or two into it, I'm like, well, this is working out.
It's pretty nice.
And now I have like pressure, like things are like, maybe I'm gonna get married,
right?
I'm like, okay, now this has to work out.
Right now is no fallbacks.
It became like this. Maybe there was like no pressure in the beginning because I was like, whatever. Like if it doesn't work out, I'll just get a job. And anyone will want me to work for them.
Right.
I was very cocky like that, and so that lack of pressure maybe, and I was very relaxed about it. I was just able to easily cold call and get the business, but then it turned into like, okay, this has to work, and the pressure changed things.
Yeah.
23 years later,
let's go.
I'm like, John, we have to get new clients.
Yeah.
Like this has to work.
We gotta keep going.
Now I have a lot of bills. I was reluctant to hire my first employee, because I was like, well, what if he does what I did?
Right.
Like when I left and I took clients with me, I was like, I'll
fucking kill him.
I'll kill him. Like I was like and my wife's like, what are you doing? You're redlining here. You're going to get burned out. You need somebody. Like she's been that, because she's totally not involved in the business. She's got her own career. And so she's able to look at it from like, a few feet away type of thing.
Outside of the box.
And she works for big corporate, so she's like understands like delegation and research. And she's like, what are you doing? Like hire people. And every step of the way, she was always pushing me like, spend that money, spend this money, hire this person.
Right, just do it.
Yeah.
It's good to have that, it really is.
Yeah. There's a couple of people who I wouldn't be here without them. She's one of them.
Yeah.
My dad's another one. Like I said, when I quit my job, I was living at home rent-free. And I was like,
he was taking care of it.
I come home one day, I'm like, I quit, and I'm gonna start this business out of your house.
What did he say?
He encouraged me.
Good.
He encouraged me. I was telling somebody the other day, like, I wouldn't be here sitting at my desk without him, because he basically encouraged me in the beginning when my phone wasn't ringing. He'd come home from work and I'd just be laying on my bed like, nothing to do today. There's no one put a service call in.
Right.
And he would encourage me, look at my quotes, make sure they were right. He was in sales, so he would coach me. I mean,
that's amazing.
Yeah, like you talk about your kids now. Like if I don't know if I would have that same gut reaction if my 18-year-old I just put him through college, and he tells me I quit my job.
I'm just gonna hang out at home until I get a service call.
I don't know if I would have been that chill about it.
Right.
But
so you know what though, and that's another thing, man. I've heard stuff like that. Like Adam Sandler, he talks a lot about his dad. How his dad was very like just like warm and like, you're gonna be fine. Like like, oh, I want to be an actor. And he's like, all right, cool, be an actor.
Yeah.
If it doesn't work out, you can come work with me. Like whatever. And that's the one thing. Like I don't know, obviously, about your upbringing. But like for me, because like I was in a position where like there was no fail safe. Like I didn't have like parents who had money who, if it was like I was trying to save their house, right? Like and my what I thought was my world at the time, right? Like my siblings and stuff, my mom. So it's like I didn't have that like to fall back on. I was like I either succeed and I help my family or I don't. And it's like it drives a different level of pressure in you, and so like when I think about people like your father or like Adam Sandler's father. Like my parents, like my parents are both not college graduates. My dad was a high school graduate. My mom didn't graduate high school. I'm the oldest, and my family at the time, like nobody had graduated college, right? So I was like going to be the first person. I wanted to be a chemical engineer, and so when I started this whole thing, and I never wanted to go into college because of it, it was at first, my family was just like, go do it. Like, like whatever, like, and they were encouraging because like they never had asked, like they were young, had a family young, like my parents had me young. And so like they weren't like, no, don't do it. Right. But like me being a business owner and you being a business owner, knowing what hard work does, input, output, and then with your kid, it's tough because it's like, what they should do based on what you did. right? Like your dad wasn't an entrepreneur. Your dad was, you know,
he actually
employee.
had a lot of failed businesses.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. So maybe that played in too.
Maybe.
He understood like why I would maybe want to do that. And he didn't, what I'm grateful for too is like he didn't say, well, I tried all these things and they failed. What are you doing? If I can't do it, it failed for me.
Right.
Don't do, like he never said that. He
Right.
was like, you know, he would always blame my mom for why they failed. You know?
So my question to you though is like, so with you having 2 kids, 1 18, so you have a driver and an illegal adult.
Yeah.
And you have somebody who's in a permit situation,
Yeah.
right? So like,
Yeah.
how, like, what are you doing like to like raise your kids to have that resourceful mentality? And let me build some back like story on that. Cause like before I had my kids, right, I remember I would have some conversations with like people like yourself and one of my buddies, Sal. Do you know Sal Ventry, like a real estate dude?
Veltri Realtors?
Oh no, Ventry.
Oh no.
Okay, so anyway, he's from Tom's River too.
Okay.
But anyway, so but him and I would always talk about that because it's like, you know, you want your kids to be, you know, happy and have things you didn't have and whatever else.
Yeah.
But also like, you know, again, pressure makes diamonds. So when your kids get everything they want and like they have
Work
things
ethic.
handed down, right? They're not as resourceful as you. It's like the quintessential, like, you know, it takes, you know, the poor guy who had to work hard to make situations better, that made a tough guy, and the tough guy made it easy for his kids, and then he created more poor guys. And, you know, so like, what's your mentality on that?
Just trying to set good examples. That's all I'm trying to do because I do spoil, my wife and I both spoil our kids way more than we were ever spoiled.
Yeah.
And you know, like when you're growing up, you kind of resent, like you have that friend who's like totally spoiled.
He's got the new Jeep, like he's in high school.
He'd be like, like
his parents paid for it.
Like, you know, when I was growing up, it was like Nintendo or Sega, whatever it was, and the one kid who could just go home and say, "Mom, I want this. Can we go and get it?"
Yeah.
Okay, like you don't like resent it, but you're like, man, like
shit.
that sucks.
Why can't I have it? You know?
And so I spoil them as much as I can. We both do, but also set examples. Like they see my work ethic, my wife's work ethic.
Yeah.
When we're done working, her and I are, you know, working on our fitness. You know, I do martial arts.
Yep.
And they see everything I put into that.
Right.
Everything that work around the house, fixing things, not just hiring people to do everything. Like, hey, let me show you how to fix this toilet.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like things like that.
Be resourceful.
To an extent. Like, you know, like when I was growing up, I was doing my own brakes when I first got my car.
Wow.
Because I didn't have the money.
Right.
And I wouldn't say to them, like, let's just go get your brakes done.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to make them like,
do
that or do their own oil changes.
Now, when you did your own brakes and stuff, like what would the actual brake pads cost? I never even thought about that.
$25.
Really?
Yeah.
So damn.
Yeah. I kind of grew up around a lot of guys who were into that. Like I didn't have like from a clean cut environment. There's a lot of guys working on cars and blue collar, and I actually found it very interesting. I love cars to this day.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to tinker and
But
so
do you have like a favorite car?
Like probably the Lamborghini Miura.
Yeah,
it's probably my
sexy.
favorite. It's probably my
good
favorite
car to like.
Yeah, I went to Pebble Beach a few years back.
Yeah,
like, actually, I think pre-COVID. Now that I think of it, and they had the Lamborghini section. You know, Pebble Beach on the golf course. It's just an amazing car show. And to see like 4 or 5 Miuras lined up.
Just lined up sitting there.
Perfect condition. Being judged with guys in straw hats and like, you know, looking at hose clamps and markings and stuff. It was amazing. But so we're digressing. But that's probably my favorite. But yeah, I mean, just setting good examples for my kids, like just trying to teach them work ethic, making them get a job. Like we made our son get a job when he was like 16. So by the time he turned 17, he was able to had like $7,000 to buy a car, you know?
Yeah.
And we basically said, you know, here's how you can, taught him how to manage his money. Like, here's your paycheck, take half, spend it.
Right.
The other half, put it in the bank. You have to do this.
Right.
But in the end, it hopefully taught him something.
Right. Well, it's funny, you know, you said something that really resonated where I heard something, I forget who said it, but it's like, rarely will kids ever listen to you, but they will always watch what you do and repeat it.
Yeah.
So I love that you're saying that you're showing an example, right?
Yeah.
And when you do things like that, it's funny because my parents never told me that. So growing up, like my what I learned from my parents was you get money, it was already spent before you got the fucking check in your bank, right? Mm-hmm. And so that's how my family always operated. In most cases, my mom and dad still do it to this freaking day. But my wife, she grew up where her family was more so like you, where they were like, hey, you get your birthday money, you have your job, like you're setting aside money here, whatever else, you're not spending it. Like birthday money, I forget what she said. I think she got 20% of whatever she got for her birthday, my wife and her siblings. Mm-hmm. Everything else went to their bank account. And it's like, but my wife, it's funny because I grew up like broke. Like I always liked to buy nicer things once I started making some money. And my wife is always like, she hates, because I'm a big car guy, right? So like anything that I've ever driven, right? When I met, my first real like nice car, I used to be like BMWs and stuff like that. But when I got my first G-Wagon, my wife was like pissed. She was fucking pissed. And
what? Because of the perception or the money?
Everything. She's very conservative, but her family, that's how her family kind of like, trained her. It's like, you don't need these things, like whatever else. And again, it's as now I've been married for going on like 8 years to her, and we've been together for like almost 11 years. But it's like, like she's helped me better understand that, where it's like, these things really don't fucking matter at the end of the day, right? Like I like cars, like whatever else, but like, you got to teach your kids like that shit doesn't matter. Yeah. Cause like, the more like her dad at one point, my father-in-law told me, he was like, John, when I asked for his blessing to marry her, I went to a store, Get Floored and Brick off Chambers. So that's my father-in-law. So he owns that place. Oh, wow. But so I went there. That's where I asked him for his blessing. And I was shit my pants when I walked in there. But I went in there, was talking to him, and he said something really good to me. He said two things, that really resonated. But he was like, when the hardest thing you'll ever do outside of being married, because it's really difficult, is raising kids. Mm-hmm. And he's like, when you're raising kids, if you don't raise your kids the right way, you're going to have a big child for the rest of your life. And, and he's like, Jacqueline, Janine, whatever, Gennaro, they would always say to me, or Jacqueline would be like, Dad, I want that Hollister sweater, right? And back then it was a popular brand. I don't know if it still is. But he's like, I want Hollister, right? And, and he said, I'll never forget, when they went to the store, the sweater was $50 for a sweatshirt. And he goes, Jacqueline, I'm not buying you a $50 sweatshirt. And he's like, John, I could have bought the whole fucking store. Right? He's like, but I wanted her to understand that like you don't need to spend all this money on unnecessary shit. And my wife is still like that to this day. Still like that to this day.
Yeah, I'm definitely we grew up sort of not poor, but like lower middle class, maybe like really watching every dollar. Yeah, right. And like if I wanted a skateboard, I had a list of chores that I had to do. It would take me 2-3 weeks to get all these chores done. Yep. And I finally would get it. And it made me, it's carried over to today because my wife will point it out to me how like if I want something, I'll research it too long for the price or like just won't pull the trigger and get it. It's like all this stuff left over from childhood. Like, and so and they didn't come out and say to me like, this is how you need to manage your money. But it was like, I sort of watched and learned and this is how they spent their money and this is how I learned. Good or bad or indifferent. But like it's good and bad, I guess. But you do learn just from observing and like
totally.
And you like with your kids, I don't know. You never know if you're gonna raise them right. You just do your best. I don't know. Like you just try and set good examples and do your best. And sometimes you find out you're yelling at them too much. You just sort of see that, like maybe like all the stresses from life, and when they're rambunctious at 3 and 4, and it's a lot to deal with, and you just want to chill, and they're screaming and throwing, and you just find yourself going, I got it, you yell at them, you're like, man, why did I just yell at them? And you just try and do better. Like you don't always, you do the best you can almost. And I think if you have good intentions and set good examples, in the end, the universe will help you out. Right. Hopefully. But we also do things that like my wife's constantly saying to the boys the whole time they're growing up, no pills, no powder, no drugs. Like guys, stay away from these things. We're not going to bury our head in the sand if we don't talk about it.
Totally.
But like also trying to like hammer some points through.
Now your 18-year-old, like if you're having a barbecue, like you let him have a beer and stuff?
I don't like that.
Yeah.
My wife's family is more okay
Chill.
with that. Yeah. I do. I don't want to encourage it.
Right.
I'm not naive.
Of course.
But like, I don't want to get like too personal. But today, I getting ready to come here, I get a text from my wife. Puts my son on it. Your room smelled like weed again this morning.
To the son. Damn, so 18 years old, that's where you're at.
And it ended with, whatever you have, it better be on the counter waiting for your dad when he gets home. Like, so, you know, and what am I going
to... I'm not even thinking about that shit yet, dude. I'm fucked.
And it's like, I know how I was at his age. I was way worse.
Right.
But again, I don't want to encourage things. And I want him to be better. But I do understand, like, that was like a Tuesday. Like
totally.
That's
right, it's regular.
That's like...
It's normal for you.
Yeah,
like that.
But
you know what's interesting though too, the other school of thought of like, so like when I grew up, because my dad had, you know, some alcoholism, you know, my family on both sides, both my grandfathers, and who knows for how many generations alcoholism was in our family. And so growing up, like I've never got drunk until I was 21, right? So all throughout high school and
worried?
shit. What's that?
You were worried maybe about?
I resented my dad a lot because of it. And I remember thinking like, that's why, like I resented him, but I also was like, this is what's doing it.
Yeah.
And then I remember I was in Atlantic City for my 21st.
Now you're invested in a liquor company.
Dude, yeah. Fucking full circle. But I remember being in Atlantic City the first time I got drunk. I was like, damn, now I know why he likes this, right? Like, but the one thing, my mom was always doing that, right? She was always like, no drinking, whatever else. And I just didn't like it. So like I never really did it. But I remember the first time, you know, I got drunk and stuff, and I was like, this is like, I like this is fun, this is cool, you know, in moderation. And then I went nuts in my 20s, you know, like having fun at bars with my friends and girls and whatever, typical shit. And, you know, ultimately, right, it's like I have friends who their parents were like so anti it, and then they became like drug addicts because like once they got out there and they weren't in their parents' care, they just went fucking apeshit. Yeah. And then you have other people who like their parents were like, yeah, like you could have a beer at the house for whatever, like just you get a glass of wine, whatever. Like, you know, you're here with me, you're home, you're not driving anywhere, whatever. It's like, because you know that they're gonna be having a beer with their friends when you're not there.
Yeah, it's hard to sort of when your kid is 18, like you know that they're not going to be out there drinking. You know you did that.
Totally.
It's hard to like I don't know what the word is. Like I don't want to condone it. Like and say you know. I had friends' parents who would say you can drink here. I don't want, you know, if you want all your friends come over our house, you can all drink here. And like that was great when I was a kid to have that opportunity. But looking at it now, I would
like,
never.
Those parents are fucking crazy.
Yeah, I would never. do
What were they
that.
thinking?
Yeah, what were they thinking? But that was their approach. To it. So maybe they kind of have more control over it. I don't know. Yeah. I can't do that. I can't bring myself to do that. Like we just went on a vacation and I had a bourbon with my son who was 18. Yeah. And just because, like, not to get drunk, but it was like, let's go have to the cigar bar. Yeah. And like have that experience.
That's a cool moment.
Yeah. He didn't really finish the drink.
Yeah. But bourbon's tough for 18.
Yeah. But he wanted like, Andrew Tate went to this place. Can we go? So I was like, all right, we'll go there and we'll have a cigar. Yeah. And like, he didn't really finish the cigar or the drink, but it was a cool moment. But you know, it's hard. Like, what do? You try and figure it out as you go. It's just sort of like running a business. The whole time I've been running this business, it's been like raising a kid. I've been figuring it out as I go, just putting in the hard work and, you know.
And just showing up, right? I think at the end of the day, like, you know, when I look at, so to your point earlier, what's so crazy about raising children is that, like, and I remember, like, I'm the kind of person where, like, if I'm going into a new phase of my life, I always love to just, like, ask people questions that have been there. So, like, I remember right before I had my son, Johnny, my oldest son, I was asking this one of my my buddies, he's a colleague, and I asked him, I was like, dude, you know, because I think he had, like, 3 or 4 kids, and he was pretty young. He's like, I think he's, like, probably, like, 38, he has 3 or 4 kids. And I was like, dude, like, you know, like, what's your advice? Like, whatever. And he goes, this is the thing. He goes, your kids might look like you, but dude, they're not you.
Yeah.
Right. So like when they get older and they have personalities, whatever else, like you're going to realize like they're their own person.
Yeah. Even my 2 boys are so different. Just
right. Their personalities and shit, right?
So different.
But so like the thing is like, you know, it's funny, man. And like, I don't know, actually, you'd be a good person to ask this question too. Because like, I remember before I had my kids, I said to my wife, I was like, listen, like I want to be like, because of my business, like how I went from being like a very loosey-goosey, not like I love having a good time. Like I work hard, I party hard too, like with my friends and stuff, like on the weekends back then and before kids. And, you know, and it's like, but I said to my wife, like the way that when we have kids, the way that we're going to like raise people that think the way we think is by putting challenges and obstacles in front of them and not just giving them everything. So like, I was like, by the time they're like 18, 19, 20, whatever, like they can't be living home. Like I want them to like, they have to figure out their own shit. Like if they're going to go to college and they're going to do whatever, like, you know, they have to pay for everything themselves, whatever else, like we're going to make it hard for them. Now I have my 3 kids. I'm like, you better never fucking leave me. Like I'm obsessed with them.
Yeah.
And where are you on that spectrum right now?
I'm sort of there. My son's going away to University of Tampa.
Dang.
So
is that difficult for you?
Yes and no. I want him to have that school's going to be great. I'm almost a little jealous.
Where did you go to school?
Rowan.
Okay. Yeah, my sister-in-law went to Rowan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We visit there. It's like going to a Marriott or something. There's a pool right in the middle of campus where girls are laying out.
Are you kidding me?
Doing homework. Like,
this guy's about to crush it.
I'm
we're gonna send Rob back to college.
I'm gonna go get my master's there.
In videography.
I'm excited for him. I don't want him to not experience that. But he's also, then the part of me is like, he's going to be down in Florida if something goes wrong.
Right, you got to get on a plane and whatever.
And when we're not going to see him. And I'm torn, but more of me feels like I want him to go down there and just flourish and have a great time.
Totally.
And hit on chicks and grow into the adult that he's really not yet.
100%.
And you know, figure out his career. And,
right.
Like, to me, that I want him to have that more than me wanting him to just still be at the dinner table at night and be hanging out. So it's hard, though.
Yeah. My God, man.
My wife's worse with it, but
I bet. Dude, that I can't even fucking imagine. Like, I'm going to encourage my wife I didn't go to college, obviously, but my wife went to Rutgers. And like anything, I need my kids to be a drive away, man. I can't like, obviously I want them to experience cool shit. And I'm going to encourage them to do whatever they want to fucking do. But it's just crazy to think about, like, you know, being a plane ride away and missing, like, those times and stuff.
My wife's like, we'll just get a condo down there.
Yeah, get out there. Give you an excuse to get out there, right?
Yeah. But my parents didn't, like, I had a couple of options for college.
Yeah.
It was something in New Jersey.
Yeah, right.
And it wasn't even on the table. Like here.
Yeah. So, like, one of the things, though, that I think about, too, is, like, because I've always challenged college. Right? Again, in certain industries, like if you're going to be a doctor, get the fuck to college. If you're going to be a scientist, you're trying to launch fucking, you know, or learn things about food, whatever, lawyer, I get it. The one thing for me that like especially now with fucking AI, like it makes me feel so like, what the fuck is the point of college? Besides, again, I get it, good experience, build your network. You live on your own, experience that stuff.
I kind of feel like when I'm hiring people, I feel the same way. Like, to me, it doesn't...
I don't give a shit where you went to college.
Yeah, and it doesn't tell me that you know the job, but what it does tell me is you met all these deadlines, you got through 4 years of this structure, you played that game, you figured it out, you met the deadlines, you did the work. Right. I know that you figured out how to manage your time. Yeah. Like, it tells me other things about you, like organizational skills. Not so much that everyone comes in their resume, you'd think they were like Elon Musk, the way they and then you actually probe a little bit and ask 100%. Some questions, and they don't know anything. Dude, and that's the thing. I just had this conversation with somebody yesterday where it's like, so my company about 12 years, maybe about like 10 years ago, my team like respectfully like pushed me out of the interview process because I would get too intense. Yeah. Because like it's like everybody's bullshitting in an interview, right? Like they're like, oh, I love your company, like you guys are saints, like you know, and I'm amazing, and like you know, I'm great, and it's like, let's cut the bullshit. Like what are you like? Who are you actually? Yeah. Because just like a divorce or a split, like
when it doesn't work out, like, or like if something goes wrong, like you see how ugly somebody really is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And you'll never get that person in the interview process.
Never.
But I try to pry for it. And I'm like give me an example of your worst day at work. Like what happened? Like if I was to interview, you know, the boss that fired you last, like what would they tell me? Like I would like, and it would be to the point where like some people would give feedback because we always ask surveys. And you know, now my HR director and my executive team were like, dude, I think the straw that broke the camel's back was I used to toss resumes on the floor, right? Because I wanted to exemplify, I don't give a fuck about this paper. I care about you, right? And so over the years, people are like, oh, I love that. Like he cared more about me. We had a great conversation. I got lit up on Glassdoor by the last person I ever did it to. They were like, I spent 4 years at college building this piece of paper, and he just fucking threw it on the floor. But I didn't do it like, fuck the paper, like this is stupid. I did it as like, hey, like I care more about you than I do about this paper. The paper doesn't tell me anything.
Yeah, well, that tells you right there that personalities weren't going to mesh.
Totally, right? Instantly.
So I'm going to start throwing resumes.
So the joke was like, oh, the resume toss. But anyway, as we get close to the end here, Brian, I want to make sure people can know where they can find you, you know, where they can engage with you. Obviously, if they want, you know, to engage about services and stuff. You know, this is where you plug yourself.
Yeah, Jaydien.com, Jaydien.com. We're on Meta now.
Meta, let's go.
Jaydien Networks, I believe, at Jaydien Networks. We're on Beaverson Boulevard in Brick. So you probably, if you drive the area, you see our trucks and some signage.
Right.
But, we're been here for 23 years, so we're easily
and congrats
accessible.
on that, by the way.
Thanks.
Because it's not easy to be in business for 5 years, not be in business for 10 years. You know, to be 2 decades in. I mean, that's pretty fucking sick.
It's crazy to
is
think
there any
about.
Is there any thoughts or any talks about your kids ever joining or like being a part of this?
They don't
company?
seem interested.
Got it.
It's part of me is depressed about that.
Right. You're like, I want to take it over. Right.
But again, like it's not the greatest business in the sense that, you know, tech support.
Right.
You gotta have thick skin. You take a lot of shit sometimes. Like, and I want more for them, you know, too. If they want to do it, hey, feel free.
100%.
Like if I had that opportunity, like a business that was sort of well established, and that they can just jump in and hit the ground running,
right,
I'd be all over it.
100%.
But for them, they don't seem interested in it. Like I tried.
What's your son going to college for?
Finance.
Got it.
You know,
and does 16-year-old have any aspirations yet?
He's
just being. He's
they
still
love
young.
technology, which is weird,
right?
But they don't seem interested, which is fine.
Right.
I mean, I wouldn't mind just selling it one day and retiring.
Right.
But it would be cool to leave something for them. So that it, again, like just setting them up for something easier.
100%.
Like I'm not embarrassed, or I don't feel like, they may be privileged in some way, but I worked my ass off to give them that. Like,
right.
And if I could give that to them, whether or not they can make it better or maybe make it worse, hopefully not, but like to give them that opportunity would be something. I think that's my job.
100%. Right, as like a parent.
Yeah. If they don't want it, I can't force them to do it, but you know, it's there, and I don't hate them for it. I don't blame them at all. Like if you want to do something else, hey, if you said, I just want to like, you know, maybe be a chemist, or like, man, I want to be an electrician or something. All right. I don't hate you for that. Like, that's fine. But, you know, this is here if you want it, but at some point it won't be there.
Right.
You know, I'm going to have to move on.
Absolutely.
You know?
Well, that's legacy, right?
Yeah.
So, all right. So we're about to wrap up here. Again, dude, thank you so much, Brian.
You're
the man. I appreciate you coming in. A lot of great golden nuggets dropped here today. Go check out Jaydien at jaydien.com, Any Network Solutions. And again, you guys are just a wealth of resource and knowledge.
Yes.
So if you have any questions, and I always say this, IT is one of those things where when you haven't experienced something go wrong, you know, you don't wait until you do, because you don't want to be absolutely crushed with something that could crush your business or just crush your pockets if that doomsday scenario happens. So give Brian a shout out there, and we'll see you next time, guys. Thank you.